I always knew God, knew, the basics, but I feel like maybe I was just distant from him. I was living in Virginia with my husband, and we had been married for 3 years. We'd already done a deployment together, so, we'd overcome some things, and we were pretty strong, I guess. I had an awesome career. He was doing well in his career. He was gearing up for deployment, and in that spring we found out that I was pregnant. At 37 weeks, I had what would have been my last doctor's appointment, and everything checked out great. I don't know, I guess our quality time together, like I would talk to her and she would wiggle, I would tickle her feet and she would pull away, and she just wasn't moving like normal. So kind of settled everything at home and didn't even pack a bag or anything. I was going to do that the next day, and rolled into the hospital. They got concerned, and they called in the midwife. Everything moved pretty quickly, so I was getting prepped for surgery, and didn't have anybody with me yet, so I was still alone. Super afraid, but still just like feeling calm, and now I feel like that was probably just the Spirit with me, because there's no other way to explain that. By the accounts of Kat and Amara, my doula, they arrived at the hospital about 12:30 a.m. And our Colton was born about 12:31. Sorry. She looked great. Everything inside me looked great, but she didn't take a breath. They were able to give her medication that allowed her heart to beat. I saw her, talked to her, asked her to just hang on, told her that I loved her. And they rolled her away. After that, it was kind of a whirlwind to try and get a hold of Justin. Obviously, he had no idea what was happening at that point. He was on mission, which we knew he would be. My mom, at that point, had also been notified. My sister and my best friend, Kelly. And ironically, Colton's birthday is Kelly's birthday, so that was pretty special too. Justin called the hospital, and he said, "How's our daughter?" And obviously at that point, he didn't know, so I had to tell her she was gone. So that was hard. I can't imagine what he went through, being so far away. And it was hard for me, to be there and not have my person with me, my partner. We went and saw her, we held her, we spent an hour and a half with her, which wasn't nearly long enough. But it was all we had. We traveled to Ohio, home to be with family for her services, and that was really cool. It was amazing to see how many people she had impacted, even though she was only here for such a short time. And then he had to go back overseas, and I remember still feeling pretty lonely. But during that time, like, the God thing in it was just the peace that I felt, like the Spirit was just with me. Pain and suffering, like, that's of this world, and that's okay, but for me, that brought me back to God. That encouraged me to develop that relationship, because I had so much more faith, because I knew that's the only thing that got me through it. It just forced me to have faith in bigger and better things for us and for her. And so after that, we found a church, opportunity to grow closer, and we started praying together more and doing devotionals, and it just, as a couple, brought us closer together. And then by the time we found out we were pregnant with the twins several months later, it was like, it felt like such a huge, an even bigger blessing, because it was like the rainbow after the storm, or the light at the end of the tunnel, and it just felt exactly like that. Like it was God's promise, and we were faithful. Like I was faithful, even though before that, I would have expected that out of myself, but it just happened that way. And I'm really just actually grateful for the experience, even though it was awful. With God, like with my faith, and by nothing else, no strength of my own, like we were able to overcome and conquer that loss and that journey, and came out on the other side.